Hello, everybody. We are live here with Anna, and we have another video to review with you guys. Hi, Anna.
Hi, Armin, and hello,
Hi.
everyone.
All right, Anna, do you want to tell everybody why, again, we have to say this every time we start, why you might have to get up and leave in the middle of the show, just in case that happens, in case people are going to, so that no one stresses out over it? I mean, actually,
Yeah,
what you say might make people stress out even more, actually. Never mind. Go on.
well, as you probably know, I'm from Israel, and the war between Israel and Hamas is still ongoing. And sometimes they randomly or not randomly send rockets on our cities, and we have no idea when the next rocket will come. So I might have to leave in order to get to safety if it happens, just in case.
Yes. She will do that without warning. She will just get up and leave. So you guys know that might happen at any point. And a lot of people are saying hi in the live chat. Hi, guys. Oh, my gosh. Such warm um, welcomes. Thank you, guys. Oh, my God. This is great. So, guys, we have another video of a new convert. So we are enjoying reviewing a lot of these new convert videos to see what they have to say about why they converted to Islam. This one is an American girl that converted to Islam, and some of their takes about Islam, because it's kind of adorable how how wrong they are about how ignorant and uninformed they are about what they converted into. And once you convert to Islam, it's really difficult to leave Islam. So I don't know, it's just like they didn't know what they got themselves into. And it's amazing because these conversion videos are posted by Islamic channels as brags, but I don't know. It's embarrassing when they talk about Islam and we review them. Like, okay, this is because when we left Islam, when I left Islam, when a lot of other ex-Muslims leave Islam, they come and question you about every detail, the most nuanced parts of Islam that most Muslims don't know. And if you get any of it wrong, or like they laugh at you, like, how could you leave Islam? You don't even understand Islam. If you don't know all the every single detail of Islam, then you left it because you didn't understand it. But then the people who convert to Islam, they post their videos bragging about Islam, bragging about oh, look, we got this Muslim woman, and they don't even understand the basics. So coming into Islam, you don't need to know much. You could be ignorant about 99% of Islam, and they welcome you in. But when you leave, as even if you don't know the slightest, you just something that 99.9% of Muslims don't know. If you don't know it, they're like, aha, got you. You don't have a PhD. You don't have 12 PhDs in Islam. Therefore, you leaving Islam doesn't count. But yeah, what do you think?
By the way, by the way, I wanted to say many Muslims said to me, "You can't criticize Islam because you don't speak Arabic." Like, and there are so many Muslims
Oh.
who don't speak Arabic. I mean,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
by the way, this is why one of the reasons that I really try to learn Arabic, and I'm learning the Fusha, the most Quranic Arabic I can find. So soon enough, it would be gone. Okay, soon enough.
Yeah. Spacelia is summarizing everything I said in one beautiful, simple sentence. You need to know nothing to join, but everything to leave. Perfectly summarized. Love it. By the way, this video is a 2-minute video, but it also gives us some opportunities to review some of her points about Aisha and her marriage to Muhammad. I love it that because when we were at 10 years ago, when we were leaving Islam, we found a lot of ridiculous things in Islam that we were telling people, and most people didn't know that this is a thing. Most Muslims didn't know this was a thing. I have videos of me, like, in talking to Muslims and telling them, did you know Muhammad, like, how do you explain Muhammad having intercourse with a 9-year-old? And they were like, these are Muslim hijabi women. They're like shocked, look at me like, how dare you spread such lies about our prophet? I'm like, this is in your religion, how do you not know this? They didn't know these things. But now, so when I see this video, this is a new convert, and she's trying to explain why Muhammad married like a 6-year-old and then consummated the marriage at 9. The fact that she is telling you that shows that this is becoming common knowledge, because back then you weren't even, it was impolite to even mention this 10 years ago. But now not only Muslims have to be answerable to this. This is why it's surprising that even Islam has a chance. There's two things about Islam that is so vile. I mean, that makes that it surprises me that it's even capable of spreading in the West. And I'm not talking about slavery. I'm not talking about mass executions of Jews, because those things are bad, but it's not as sensitive in the Western mind. Like genocide and sex slavery doesn't trigger people that much. Okay. But dog hatred and child marriage does. More than genocide, I would say. Okay. More than sex slavery. Like sex slavery, like, oh yeah, sex slavery bad. Genocide of Jewish people, yeah, people were like, okay, yeah, that's bad. But hating dogs, that is a major taboo in Western societies. I mean, I get it. I have 2 baby girls, and I can see why people love them so much. I love my baby girl so much. That is a red line for many people. So I don't know how is, and also child marriage. Again, child marriage is not even a term I like. I think we should call it child RAPE, but I can't say that on YouTube without getting flagged. But these two are such red lines that any religion or any ideology that advocates for that should not have a chance. Should not have a chance. But Islam does. Somehow it's still spreading, even though it has these two views. So yeah, should we start the video, Anna, or do you want to?
Do you want to play the entire video and then just deconstruct it sentence by sentence?
That's a good idea. Yes, I like that idea. Let's just play the entirety of the video and then deconstruct it after.
I'm American. I'm born American. My family was here in America longer than I have been alive. I'm a converted Muslim. No, I don't want to go back to Christianity. I'm a grown woman. I can make my own decisions. I'm 22, going on 23, and I don't want to go back to Christianity. I dress like this not because I'm oppressed, because I like this. I have confidence, and I'm only trying to impress myself, myself and I, and I do it for the sake of God. Also, I am not bald under here. I have hair. I don't worship Satan. I worship God 5 times. 5 times is mandatory. 5 times for me to pray to God. And no man has made me convert. Not all Muslims are terrorists. Also, we worship one God only, and his name is Allah. If you translate that to English, it literally means the word God. Any other misconceptions people want me to answer that I kind of find ridiculous. During the medieval times, women couldn't get anything without a man, and it was very dangerous to not be with a man, or at least have a man in your life. And most likely, the only person that could validate that would have been if you had a husband, most likely only, and you couldn't get land, food, clothes, a house without a man during the medieval times. Also, back then, during the medieval times, when a woman hit her puberty and started her period, she was considered a woman. And at that time, they considered that that's when you should start your developing and your family, because physically your body has changed from a child to a woman, pretty much. And that is what happened to Aisha. She had her period, and she developed into a woman. And this was the thought, like this all around the world, that women couldn't get anything without a man. And also the thought that when women hit puberty, and had their first period, they were considered a woman, pretty much. And Aisha had her period. And if you didn't have a man, horrible things could happen to you. It was very dangerous.
Okay, so a lot of people in the live chat are saying she's a child. She's not a child. She said she's 22 going on 23. The fact she said that she's going on 23 is kind of funny. That's what the child said. But yeah, that is, she's an adult. I don't know if you think she looks like a child. She's 22 years old. Okay, that's an adult.
Like she's literally my age. She's my age.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So let's go do sentence by sentence, one by one.
I'm American. I'm born American. My family was here in America longer than I have been alive. I'm a converted Muslim. No, I don't want to go back to Christianity. I'm a grown woman. I can make my own decisions. I'm 22, going on 23,
Okay.
and I don't want to go back to Christianity. I dress like this not because I'm oppressed, because I like this. I have confidence, and I'm only trying to impress myself, me.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm not oppressed. I do this because I like it. Those do not
Well,
have to wait. Those things do not negate each other. You could like your oppression, but go on, Anna. What do you think?
I think that in many Muslim countries, this symbolizes oppression because it is oppression, because the family and the society, they cause women to dress like this, or even the laws like in Iran and Afghanistan, and she doesn't feel oppressed because she only lives in America. So she doesn't feel oppressed because of this, just because she lives in the free world. But in Muslim countries, you would have to wear it. So here she has a choice, and she says that I'm not oppressed, but she lives in a free country. Most Muslims don't live in America. Go on.
Yeah. So when you say they have to wear it, it depends on the country, on the Muslim country we're talking about. And by force, are we talking about in some countries? In very few countries, it's mandated by law. So, for example, the only two countries that mandate hijab by law right now are Iran and Afghanistan. But in many other Muslim countries, you are pressured to wear the hijab by the community, by your family, by the environment. In some Muslim countries, you're not forced to wear it by the government or the community. But so there's three layers of pressure, right? The government, your family, and your community, and also by God, by your religion. So let's say, for example, you're wearing the hijab and you're not being pressured by your government, you're not being pressured by your community or your family. If you don't wear the hijab, they don't do anything against you. If you believe that not wearing the hijab is a sin and you would have to burn for it in hell, that is also, I would call that by force and pressure, because you think like you're going to be punished for not wearing the hijab. I mean, technically that would be force. If I come and put a gun on your head and tell you to give me your money or I'll kill you, you wouldn't say I have the freedom. I had the freedom because I could just not give him my wallet and he would just kill me. That was my choice. Well, that technically your options have been limited. So if somebody says I will burn you unless you put on the hijab, technically my options have been limited. So again, these are three different layers of pressure and force. Also, the thing is that even if you're not being oppressed or pressured, what you're wearing is a symbol of oppression and pressure. This is you're betraying your fellow women who are being pressured, who are being oppressed, even if they don't feel it. They are not all forms of pressure and oppression are necessarily something that the person who's being oppressed is knowledgeable, and I can understand that it's happening to. And like we have had many years of examples of that throughout history. I'm not going to go through all of them to show you that, but again, we also have to understand what the purpose of hijab. What is the purpose of hijab? Like historically, Islamically and historically, what was the purpose of it? So Islamically is originally it was understood to mark your female wife property separate from your slave property, right? So as a male, as a man, you have two types of females that you have access to, either your slaves or your wives, and your wives are supposed to be the property that is considered wife, that is more precious and more important and is not tradable like a slave is, right? So your slave, you wouldn't put a hijab on because you wouldn't mind other men having access to her, because technically you might even enjoy that because you would want to sell them. But your wife property is exclusive to you and should not be accessible to other men, and that's why you protect the purpose of the hijab is to protect your wife property from other men. That is the entire part, especially from lower class, lower status men. Um, Given that that's the purpose of it, you have to understand by putting a hijab, you are celebrating a symbol that it marks woman as a property. But go on, Anna.
Yeah, so basically, I just want to make it clear that the hijab marks the woman as a property, and it is there in order to prevent other men from getting attracted to your property.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of like saying, like, for example, putting the KKK costume on and be like, you know what? I don't mean this to be a racist outfit. I'm putting this by choice. Other people say this is a symbol. This is the symbol of racism. I don't agree. Okay, you might not agree, but you are basically validating, giving more legitimacy to an outfit that is a symbol of racism. So even if you put a hijab on, and if you don't think this is a symbol of oppression, and if you don't feel oppressed by it, it doesn't change its meaning, it doesn't change its purpose, and you are legitimizing it. Maybe not consciously, but you are. Gagin American just gave us a super chat saying, "Is it halal for men to take lust what super what suppressants, lust suppressants?" Let me see. I would say, yeah. I'm as a mufti and an ayatollah myself. I would say yes, because you are. I would issue a fatwa right now and say yes, it is, because you are. God gave you desires for you to uh, satisfy them in a Sharia compliant way within the marriage, within a halal marriage, and you are not supposed to take that away is to mess up with God's perfect design. Anyways, let's go watch the rest of this video.
Myself and I do it for the sake of God. Also, I am not bald under here. I have hair. I don't worship Satan. I worship God 5 times. 5 times is mandatory. 5 times.
I think these are responses to people on TikTok. These are other kids. This is, I don't really want to address this part. I think other people watch their outfit, and other kids didn't understand what the hell is happening. Are like, are you bald? Are you covering your head because you're bald? And they were like, are you worshiping Satan now? So this is other kids on TikTok probably being confused, and she's just responding to them.
Times for me to pray to God. And no man has made me convert. Not all Muslims.
No man has made me convert. I would challenge that. Okay, so the entirety, the fact that you even are aware of this religion is because men have spread it. Like, how do you say no man has made me convert? Where did you hear about this religion? Who has spread this religion? Who has made this religion? How did you study this religion? What books did you read? They were all made by men, spread by men. You have been brainwashed by men. You claim that no man has made me convert to the religion. You have been. This is a man-made religion, and any way that you could have educated yourself or convinced yourself that this is the true religion is by reading the works of men spread by other men. And also your prophets, all your prophets are men, all your ulama are men. Everything about this religion is man-made. But what do you think, Hannah?
Yeah, I just want to add that all the religious authority is just only men, and even the imams in mosques, they are always men, and mullahs in Iran, I've never seen a female mullah, maybe they exist, but are mostly men, and ayatollahs, of course, they are men. So yeah, you have like nearly no female religious authority. Nearly.
Yes.
Like maybe you can find a couple of examples here and there, but it's so
I saw one.
few that
I saw one in London. It was ridiculous. All colors just gave us a super chat saying, I started writing halal gore fest, you all. Okay, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go on and watch the rest of the video.
Muslims are terrorists. Also,
oh wait, what? Here.
Made me convert. Not all Muslims are terrorists.
Not all Muslims are terrorists. That is true. Not all Muslims are terrorists. Imagine that being a bragging or something that to brag about. Okay, you're like, which group of people is all terrorists? Like, you don't say. Like, you could literally say that about any group of people. Who is saying all Muslims are terrorists? That you are like, what is that a response to?
Maybe
Great
like
job.
because
Not every single Muslim is a terrorist. Not every single. So basically, according to this woman, if every single Muslim except one Muslim was a terrorist, then you could come and this sentence would be true, and that would be something to brag about. If there was just one person out there that was not a terrorist, I don't know. Maybe say, if I was her, this is another sentence that is also true. That would have been something, more helpful to say. Like, how about if you said most Muslims are not terrorists? Okay, that's also true and more meaningful than this sentence. Say most Muslims are not terrorists, because not all Muslim being terrorists is nothing to be proud of. But go on, Anna.
yeah, I wanted to add that even if she said like a lot of Muslims condemn terrorism, it would be much better. But I think
Yes.
maybe like it's a response. She's responding to comments, right? And in the
Right.
West, especially, most of the terrorist organizations that are known are Muslim
Yes.
organizations, right? So
Yes.
probably this is why she's replying in this way.
Yeah, so let's fix that sentence for her. Most Muslims are not terrorists. Okay, that is true. Okay, however, most terrorists are Muslim. The other way, it doesn't work the other way around. And before you stop typing, but FBI report says that most terrorists are white supremacists. Okay, remember, we're talking globally. You American-centric piece of, like, I'm not gonna swear. Like, all of these people accuse us of having like a Western-centric perspective, and then they come like, "Oh no, you're wrong. Check your facts, Armin. Most terrorists are white supremacists in the United States. You moron! Okay, you idiot. There are other countries other than the United States. Okay, so globally, that most terrorists are Muslims, unfortunately.
Yeah, and also
So
I must
we got
add that Muslims are a minority in the United States. So like maybe it also helps
yeah,
to bring the number of
yeah.
terrorists down.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, in a country where white people are the majority and Muslims are a minority, it's so surprising. Wow, yeah, most terrorists in the United States are not Muslim. Wow, what an achievement! Congratulations. Let me see. Okay, so we got another super chat by All Color saying the track list is wild, gory, and anti-Islamic AF. Thank you for the super chat, All Colors. And Zaid, I wanted to highlight this comment from Zaid, which said basically the same thing, saying not all Muslims are terrorists, but most modern day terrorists are Muslims. Exactly. There's something about the religion, okay? It's not just socioeconomic conditions, guys. There's something about the religion that makes it so. But let's continue.
Also, we worship one God only, and his name is Allah. If you translate that to English, it literally means the word God. And
that's a contradiction, okay? Because if you say that we worship one God and his name is Allah, and then you say if we translate Allah to English, that would mean God, you just said that's the name of your God, right? So there's a contradiction. So there's there are gods, okay, and there are names of gods. Okay? So for example, the name of God could be Elohim or Zeus. Zeus doesn't mean God. Zeus is a name of God. So you have to pick which one of them are you talking about. Does Allah translate to God, or is Allah the name of your God? Just like Jupiter does not translate to God, or like Athena or Shiva doesn't translate to God, is a name of a god. So I'm not saying it's one way or another, but what the two sentences that you just mentioned contradict each other. But go on. You want to say something?
Yeah, maybe she wanted to say that we worship the same God as Christians, but we call him Allah. maybe like this would be a better explanation.
Yes. But yeah, but to say that Allah translates to God, and the name of our God is Allah, these two sentences contradict each other. Let's continue.
Any other misconceptions people want me to answer that I kind of find ridiculous? During the medieval times, women couldn't get anything without a man, and it was very dangerous to not be with a man, or at least have a man in your life. And most likely, the only person that could validate that would have been if you had a husband, most likely only, and you couldn't get land, food, clothes.
Except Khadija, by the way, who was doing pretty good without a man for a
Yeah,
while.
I
She was-
wanted to say this, that even like Islamic scholars, they say that Khadija was pretty wealthy and that Muhammad was working for her. So apparently women could have men as workers, and apparently they could be wealthy. So
before Islam,
yeah,
by the way, before Islam, which came and Islam came and ruined it. But yeah,
after Muhammad started getting his visions and so on, like people started to be mean to Muhammad, and eventually they like kind of outcasted him. So I think it very affected Khadija as well. I think her situation got only worse after Islam.
yeah. But by the way, there was a difference between the woman in Mecca and the woman in Yathrib, later known as Medina. So the woman before Islam, I think the woman, based on the hadith narratives, again, none of this is real. Like, but again, if you believe the hadith narratives and the seerah and everything, the woman in Mecca were a lot more obedient and had a lot less freedoms and a lot more restrictions, and compared to the women in Yathrib. So the women in Yathrib were a lot more. They were a lot more easy to. They were free to talk. They were free to talk back against the men. And Omar specifically did not like that when they moved to Yathrib. But that's a different story.
Husband, most likely the only person that could validate.
Yeah, let's go on.
But he married with Khadija in Mecca, so he
No, but
married with
Khadija was a world. Khadija was like traveling, like she was like a worldly. She was not like she was like, yeah. And Khadija was different. Khadija like had a lot of money, so she wasn't. Her experience might not be representative of other women. But yeah, let's continue.
Validate that would have been if you had a husband, most likely only, and you couldn't get land, food, clothes, a house without a man during the meeting.
Khadija had all of that. I mean, technically she's right, because Khadija she had land, she had wealth and everything. But she got those through a man. I mean, eventually she had all of those. But the idea that women didn't have property rights before Islam just goes out the window, given that Khadija had a lot of property. She had slaves, she had a lot of wealth, she was trading. So it's true that technically she got those from her previous husbands that died, so she got them because of men. But the idea that women didn't have property rights before Islam, that is wrong. I mean, that is Khadija's narrative completely contradicts all of that. Yeah.
And you couldn't get land, food, clothes, a house without a man during the medieval times. Also, back then, during the medieval times, when a woman hit her puberty and started her period, she was considered a woman. And at that time, they considered that that's when you should start your developing and your family, because physically your body has changed from a child to a woman, pretty much. And that is what happened to Aisha. She had her period and she developed into a woman. And this was the thought, like this all around the world, that women couldn't get anything without a man. And also the thought that when women hit puberty, and had their first period, they were considered a woman, pretty much. And Aisha had her period. And if you didn't have a man, horrible things could happen to you. It was very dangerous.
So she is trying to make it, the whole idea of you need a man back then, is she's trying to explain away why Aisha was married off to Muhammad, at age 6, and then why did Muhammad consummated the marriage, had intercourse with her at age when she was 9 years old? She's like, well, women back then, they needed men, they needed men, they needed men. Okay, but that's true. The men that they needed was not just their husband, it was their fathers as well. Like they were on, before they got married with their husbands, they were under the protection of their fathers. And Aisha had a very wealthy and a very powerful father, Abu Bakr. So she, technically for protection, she didn't need to be married that early because she wasn't without a man. Her father, she was living under the house of her father, Abu Bakr, and she would have been completely fine and under the protection of men without getting married that early. But go on, Anna, you wanted to add something? I have so much to say about this last part.
Yeah, there is a lot to say, but she also repeats several times that in the medieval times, in the medieval times, in the medieval times. But Muslims, okay, they don't say that back then there were other times and today we must renovate our religion, or today the times require different measures. No, they say that the Quran is perfect and that Muhammad was the most perfect man, okay, alive, and we should imitate his behavior and everything he did. So when she says that in the medieval times women didn't have rights and they needed men, and this is why Muhammad married Aisha so young, no, like Muhammad is the perfect example for the humanity, and Muslims believe that what was good back then is also still good right now. It is still perfectly applicable. Like it is not for debate. Like reformists maybe say that we need to renovate the religion, but a lot of Muslims, they don't think like this. That because it was in another times, that nowadays it doesn't hold. Because then you must say that the Quran wasn't perfect and that the Prophet wasn't perfect for all times. So, anyways,
but this was unusual even for back then. Even for back then, like what was norm in the medieval times might have been 14, 13, 12, maybe 11 if you're pushing it. But 9 wasn't even a thing back like I think even back then this was not a thing to have. Again, marriage by 6 and intercourse by 9 even is stretching it even by that time standard. But go on.
Yeah, and she doesn't say that Aisha was 9. She's clearly talking about it. Like everyone who knows a little bit about Islam understands it's about Aisha, but she deliberately hides this fact that she was 9. She deliberately doesn't say it. She said he married Aisha because of this and that, and like she just ignores it.
So somebody's saying, what is the point she's trying to make? So the point she's trying to make is that get off my back, right? So this is the main thing that people come at you with, which is great. By the way, I know it's a low-hanging fruit, but go for it. When you convert to Islam or you're defending Islam, because how big of a red line having intercourse with children are, rightfully so, everybody goes like, what about Muhammad? What about Muhammad marrying Aisha? What about Muhammad having intercourse with Aisha when she was 9 years old? And so a lot of this was not a thing, again, 5 or 10 years ago. We anti-Islamic activists as a whole made it so, normalized it, so now people could come at you with this question. And some people tried to convince us not to do this because they were like, this is too easy. We should have more intellectual discussion. This is, okay, it's not our fault that Islam is so easily attacked, is so vile and disgusting that it has these low-hanging fruits. If you have a low-hanging fruit, you go for it. Like, why would I climb the tree and go for a higher? Well, I mean, this is right there. Obviously, I will go for it. So the point she's trying to make is this is not a bad thing. So she's converting to Islam, and probably on TikTok, a lot of her friends and a lot of other people are like, "Oh, you converted to a religion where your prophet has had, sex with a 9-year-old, and she's trying to say, well, back then when a woman got her period, it was okay, she was considered an adult, so it was okay to have intercourse with her. And without mentioning her age, she's claiming that by the time Muhammad did have intercourse with with Aisha, she had her period, so that makes it okay. So that's her point. She's telling people to get off my back, stop bothering me about my prophet being a freaking maniac. But yeah, go on, and I think you want to say something.
Like, by the way, I don't remember that I saw in the hadiths about Aisha that she had her period by 9. But even if it's true, okay, let's assume that she got her period by 9. Having intercourse in such a young age is actually extremely dangerous to Aisha. Like, if she gets pregnant, she would die. I mean, no one can say that by this age you are a complete woman, even if you got your period very early. No one, because this is actually dangerous. Like, her pelvic bones are not developed yet to have a child, and back then, by the way, there was no contraception. So yeah, she might get pregnant and just die, just like this.
Yes. So there's a couple of so many different points. By the way, I want to show you the hadith that tells you the age. Okay, but before we get that, right? So let's dissect this properly. Either she did have her period before 9, at 9, or she didn't. Okay. The fact is, whether she had or not, she had the mind and body of a child. Their understanding is like, oh, you're an adult if you have your period. Nonsense. That's absolutely insane. Having your period at age 9 does not make you an adult. Does not make you an adult. Your mind does not simply change because you had your period. Your body structure does not also magically change and is willing to accept intercourse just because you had your period. Nothing about your mentality and your physiology makes you more accepting of sexual intercourse just because you had your period. And not only that, as Anna just pointed out, it actually technically makes it worse that you had your period. Because now, so here's the thing, without you getting your period, if you have intercourse with a 9-year-old, there are so many mental and physical risks to a 9-year-old. Just the intercourse alone. Just intercourse alone is horrible. Like, I have seen documentaries of in Africa people having intercourse with 12-year-olds, and the wall between a lot of them, the wall between the, again, I'm not going to say this because it's going to discuss a lot of people, but yeah, I'm not going to say this because YouTube, like, there's a thing between two different parts of the body that breaks, and the poop gets mixed with the part of your, I'm not going to say this. It's horrible. It destroys them, right? And that's a huge risk. But now that you had your period, the risks increases significantly for a 9-year-old, because now you could get pregnant at 9. That will destroy you. Like, imagine this. Even for a 12-year-old, having intercourse as a girl is dangerous. For a 12-year-old, becoming pregnant is extremely dangerous. Now imagine for a 9-year-old, intercourse is extremely more dangerous than even a 12-year-old, which all those documentaries were about. Those were for 12 and 11-year-olds. Now imagine getting pregnant. So not only the idea that her getting a period makes it better, it doesn't make it better. It actually makes it a lot worse when it comes to, because these people think about, when they're coming about their moral standards, they're thinking about principles, right? Like, oh, principle, based on our principle, technically, they act like it's a code, right? Well, technically, she's an adult, so by principle, it makes it okay now. But we are consequentialists. We are utilitarian. We think about consequences. We don't think, well, like, oh, technically, now she could check the adult mark that her as an adult, so now technically it's okay to have intercourse with her. If we think like, oh my god, she had her period, she now could get pregnant at 9 years old, this makes it worse. This is the superiority of moral standards that are based on consequences relative to moral standards that are based on principles. But anyways, Anna, did you want to say something before I show the hadith?
No, I think that it's best to show it just to show it.
All right, so let me just show to you. There are many. Okay, so this is Sahih Bukhari. Okay, guys, this is Sahih Bukhari. If you are new here and if you don't understand how significant this is, let me educate you. This is a foundational, fundamental part of Islam, second only to the Quran for Sunni, for all four schools of thoughts of Sunni Islam. You cannot separate this from mainstream Islam. And Shias have the hadith, their own hadith, Sahih hadith as well, that confirms this as well, right? So this is Sahih Bukhari. If you want to separate this from Islam, again, so Islam comes from the Quran and Sahih hadith. Sahih means authentic. That means it's recognized by every single Islamic school of thought. The Sahih hadith, most Islamic teachings and most Islamic rules comes from hadith, not from the Quran. The Quran is core, but hadith is what tells you what to do and how to behave, because it's basically the sunnah of the Prophet. It's the way of the Prophet, and what he is are the things that he said and the things that he did. And the fact that this is Sahih means that it has been stamped with the mark of approval as being as what Muhammad had said, right? So this one, or did. I will show you two, but again, we have enough hadith about this that many ulama will say it's mutawatir. Some people will disagree with it, it's mutawatir or not, but the fact that it's Sahih is good enough. So this hadith says, again, narrated by Aisha herself. So see, Aisha here. Aisha says Aisha here, and says the Prophet married her when she was 6 years old. And guys, here are all the references. If you want to check, because that we're making this up, you could go check the references yourself. The Prophet here says sallallahu alaihi married her when she was 6 years old, and he consummated his marriage when she was 9 years old. So again, 6 years when they married, and consummated his marriage when she was 9 years old. Right? So there. And then she remained with him for 9 years till his death. So Aisha was 18 when Muhammad died. Right? And here's another one. But again, there are so many of them. Aisha when she was 6 years old, and consummated marriage when she was 9 years old. Again, there's so many different references to this, and they're all Sahih. They're all Sahih. And guys, by the way, if you want to dismiss any part of Sahih hadith, you have to understand that 95%, 99% of Islam will go up in there. Even the fundamental parts of Islam will go away. 4 of the 5 pillars of Islam are based on the hadith. This is how significant the hadith is. 4 of the 5 pillars of Islam are based on hadith. Anything you want to say? But it gets worse. It gets worse because a lot of people are saying, okay, Armin, I don't know. Yeah, you say this is Sahih hadith, but I don't agree with these hadiths. Who decides which hadith is Sahih and who isn't? That's a ridiculous thing to say, because if you say that, you're questioning the entirety of your religion. But I have something beautiful for people who want to focus on the Quran, because the Quran is even worse. So before we switch from the hadith to the Quran, when it comes to child marriage, which again shouldn't be called child marriage because it's child rape, but if you think that you could save Islam by focusing only on the Quran and ignoring hadith, even if it's Sahih hadith, I'll tell you, the Quran makes all of this worse. And I will get to that next. But go on. Anna, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I want to say just 2 small things. That without hadiths, Muslims wouldn't know how many times they should pray in a day. And this woman clearly said that she has to pray 5 times a day, so she accepts the hadith, right?
Perfectly said. She said she has to exactly. That's a great point, Anna. She herself said she has to pray 5 times a day. Well, lady, that's not in the Quran. That's in the Hadith. So you have already accepted the Hadith. Good job. Go on, Anna.
Yeah, and to all of the people who want to check my words, please go to the verses talking about the prayer in Islam. And it's not clear that you have to pray there 5 times a day. Like when I read these verses, I understand that you should pray 2 or 3 times. So maybe it's my understanding, but Muslims say that it's from the Hadiths. And another point that I wanted to mention. Is that there are a lot of hadiths narrated by Aisha, which also imply that she was very, very young, like she was playing with dolls and watching shows and just doing fun stuff that a kid does. And there are also, on the other hand, very explicit hadiths about Aisha, like she was washing off the semen from the garments of the prophet. So, like,
we should,
yeah,
we
I
should
would
do
call
a
it
funny
child
Hadith.
abuse, like nowadays.
Yes. Aisha, you're right. There's a lot of hadiths telling us that Aisha complaining about how much semen is on Muhammad's clothes and how much he has to spend, no matter how much she washes it, it doesn't come off. We should do guys, make sure you subscribe. We will do a stream talking about funny hadiths. We'll go through, we'll pre-select them and show them to you. We're not making this up. This is also in the hadith. There's a lot of good people are like, somebody's like, bro, I was eating. Ew. Yeah, the guys, we're not making this up. This is hadith. We'll do another stream and go over all of the most ridiculous, amazing hadiths with you guys. So if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Guys, if you're watching this on, I don't know, Twitter or Facebook or Twitch, come to our Atheist Republic's YouTube channel. I'll make sure you're subscribed there because we're going to have a lot of fun streams in the future. Anyways, are you guys ready? Oh, we have some super chats, and then I'm going to go show you what we have in the Quran. So, Gasian American saying, why didn't Allah give the Prophet and his companions paper making technologies? Well, I mean, that's a bad question to ask because whatever God decides is hikmah, and you as a mortal, you have the fact that you're even asking this question means that you are arrogant enough to think that you could know God's mind, and nobody could know God's minds, and you shouldn't even ask that. You should just accept what God has decided. So that's the Islamic way. Allahu alam. So the answer to this Islamically is Allahu alam, means God only knows, and you shouldn't question God's wisdom. Gasian American saying, is Aisha 9 by the solar calendar, or do we have her birthday and marriage days? Oh, actually, that's an interesting point. She's actually, Anna, she's actually younger than 9 because she was 9 based on the lunar calendar, which is shorter than the solar calendar. So she's technically 8 and something. Like she's not full. She wasn't even 9. She was under 9 years old based on solar years. Yeah, that's a good point.
Like in Judaism, we add a month every 4 years in order to make the lunar calendar and the solar one align. But in Islam, it's prohibited to add a month. So the Islamic year is shorter. So yeah, it's a good point. She wasn't even 9. She was younger.
Yeah, she wasn't even 9. Yeah, exactly. She was younger than 9 because Islamic years are shorter. Exactly. And Ben is saying, trying to weed out. Thank you so much for the super chat, Asian American. And Ben is saying, trying to weed out propaganda that is all over the internet. What is true, very confusing news concerning war in Gaza? So we're not gonna go into it much on this stream. But let us know if you want us to do an entire stream. We will have a new stream, more streams about Gaza and Israel going forward, and we will go into a lot more details in the near future. So if you guys want to see that, make sure that you are subscribed, and not just subscribe, but also hit the bell notification, because the bell notification will tell you when we're going live. The subscribe button doesn't do that for some reason. And also make sure you like this video, because I notice when I like streams and videos, YouTube will recommend the things that I liked more often to me. So if you want to see us see more of our videos, just tell YouTube that, yeah, this is the content that you want to see more of. So like the video, okay? And it really helps us out as well. All right, let me go to the Quran. Okay, so guys, before I show you on the screen, the Quran, remember what she said. That lady, the recently converted Muslim lady, said that it's okay that she's 9. She had her period. What if I told you the Quran makes it clear that you don't have to wait for the period? Did you know this, Anna? That the Quran makes it clear that you don't have to wait for period? So a lot of Muslim defense for, Aisha being 9 or 6 or whatever is that Islam, who cares about numbers? You guys have your Western modern standard of who is an adult. How do you define an adult? You're like 9, 12, 16, 18. These are just numbers. The way we decide Islamically who's an adult and who's not an adult is who had their period. And that's the standard. And that's a better standard, because your numbers are just arbitrary. You just get made up. It's just your made up number. Allah has it clear, like, if you had your period, you're an adult. If you didn't, you're a child. So you could have your period. You could have sex with somebody after they had their period. Okay, what if I told you, I will show you Quranic verses that shows you that based on the Quran, you could have sex with women before they had their period. Have you seen this, Anna?
No, I hadn't. I'm okay. I'm really curious. Yeah.
Right. So Zaid knows exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly. So again, this is why I'm telling you the Quran is actually worse than the Hadith, because the Hadith, maybe there's a way out. But like, oh, wait for their, I mean, the Hadith doesn't mention that they have to have their period. But it leaves that open. Somebody could say, like, well, maybe that's the reason, even though it doesn't say that you have to wait for the period. But the Quran goes out of its way to say, like, no, you could have wives that you have sex with before period. And to understand this, you have to put 3 different verses of the Quran together. So looking at each one of these verses alone would not get you to that conclusion. I mean, the last verse should get you to that conclusion. But you wouldn't understand that verse if you didn't understand this concept of iddah, which is the time period in Islam, right? So let me go through these one by one with you, okay? So you have to be patient here with a little bit, okay? So this is the first verse, Surah Baqarah, second Surah, chapter 2, verse 228, right? So look at this. I think you only need the first part, okay? Divorced women must wait 3 monthly cycles before they can remarry. All right? You don't need to know the rest of the verse. That's the only thing that I want you to be familiar with. This is the concept of an iddah. And do you understand the purpose of this? So basically, the Quran is saying that if a woman divorced her husband, if she wants to remarry, she has to wait 3 months, or basically 3 cycles, 3 periods. She has to have, wait for 3 periods and then remarry. Do you understand the purpose of this waiting period, Anna?
Yeah, it's to be sure that she isn't pregnant with a child of her previous husband.
Previous husband, right? So this period of time that you're waiting, because it's very important that if a woman is pregnant, you know who the father is. So back then, they didn't have DNA tests. So if you had a husband and now you want to remarry, and then when you married again, you are pregnant, now we're like, oh my God, whose baby is this? Is this the baby of this new husband? Or is it the baby of the previous husband? You wouldn't know. And that would be a disaster, because it's very important, because people's identity was based on who their father is. It's very important. Like, people in their entire lineage and everything, their entire identity, everything hanged on who your father is and who your ancestry line is. So it's very important to know who your father is. So this is a waiting period, a 3-month waiting period, to make sure that the woman is not pregnant, or if she's pregnant, you understand that, okay, the baby belongs to the previous husband. So you know who the father is. So now you understand this concept. Let's go to the second verse. The second verse says, believers, you have no right to expect a waiting period when you marry believing women and then divorce them before you have touched them. Right? So this one is saying that if you marry a woman and you did not have sex with them and then divorce them, there's no waiting period required, obviously, right? So a woman who married and divorced, but during that marriage, she had no sex, no waiting period required. This is an important additional piece of information that you have to remember before we go to the final verse, okay? To understand, okay? So now we go. This is clear? Everybody has any misunderstanding? Because it's very important that you understand every single part of this, okay? So now here's the final verse, the most important one, right? So if you're in doubt of the period of waiting, it will be 3 months for those women who have ceased menstruating and for those who have not yet menstruated. The waiting period for those who are pregnant will be until they deliver their burden. So this is a verse, this is a chapter talaq. Talaq means divorce. This is a chapter of the Quran that is giving you instructions about divorce. If you read the verses before, you can see that it's giving you instruction. The whole chapter is about that concept. Talaq means divorce, right? So it's telling you the instructions on what to do with women who you're divorcing. And it cuts them into 3 parts. Women who are so old that they're not going to have their period anymore. Women who are too young to have their period. And then the last part, women who are pregnant. So basically what this verse is saying, go on, Anna.
So, but it is said in the previous verse that if you didn't touch the woman, like if it was just a marriage without any sexual intercourse, then you don't.
You got it. You got it. So let me explain it. You got it. So this verse is saying that if you divorce a woman before she can remarry, okay, there are some women that you doubt. So there are 3 groups of women that you have specific instructions with, right? Because other women, okay, so you wait 3 months and they remarry. But there are women that they're so old. And even if you wait 3 months, right? So these are women who might not even have their period. So the first one is like the older woman, right? So then the second one is women who you have divorced that are still never had their period. Like, look at this. If you are doubt, the period of waiting will be 3 months for those women who have ceased menstruating, so all elderly, and for those who have not yet menstruated. So there's 2 points here. God is telling you that if you divorce a woman that hasn't yet had her period, the waiting period is 3 months. That means that child marriage is okay. Child marriage. This even if I didn't show you the previous 2 verses, this verse is telling you that Quran accepts child marriage because it's talking to you about what to do with women that you have married that haven't when you're divorcing a woman that you have married that hasn't had her period yet. That means that marrying women who haven't had their period is a-okay in Islam. But a Muslim might come and say, like, no, Armin, you don't understand. Yes, this verse is showing you that you are divorcing women who haven't had their period yet. But that doesn't mean that you have had sex with them. Armin, you have to understand that in Islam, sometimes you marry a woman, but you don't touch her. Maybe she's too young and you wait. You marry her as a child, but you wait until she gets her period and then have sex with her. But the previous verse tells you that no waiting period is required if you haven't had no sex with her. So the fact that this other verse is saying that you require a waiting period for divorcing a woman that haven't had her period yet means that you touched her. That means you have had sex with her. So not only this verse is endorsing child marriage, this verse is also endorsing child RAPE within a marriage. Is it clear to everybody? Because it's very important for you to understand that this verse is not just allowing you to have marriage with women, with girls who haven't had their period yet. It's also allowing you to have sexual relationship with them. This is very clear. It's black and white. Is anybody confused about this? Because if I want you all to leave here with clearly understanding what just happened here. Maybe I should draw a chart for you guys to understand this. Was this clear? Is anybody confused right now? I want to make sure that I don't leave here without people, because this is very damaging. Yes, Darko is saying mind blowing. Yeah. So somebody say I got it. Okay, good. I want to hear more of you say I got it, so I don't leave here without you understanding this. So that girl, again, going back to this woman, when she was saying that you are allowed to have sex with people, you are allowed to marry people because Aisha had her period, that's what makes it okay. Remember, there is no hadith that says Aisha had her period, and the Quran also, you might say like, okay, there's no hadith, Armin, but obviously that would be the case because it would be contradictory to the Islamic values if she didn't have their periods. Well, the Quran tells you that you don't have to wait for her period to have sex with her. Yeah, people are saying got it.
To be honest,
Okay.
I didn't know that you don't even have to wait for the period. I thought that that you can marry in Islam as soon as she gets a period. Like this is what I thought.
No, that's wrong.
Yeah,
and again, this is not even
worse than what I thought.
And again, worse than what you thought, isn't it? Like you're like, oh, you thought Islam was bad because Muhammad had sex with a 9-year-old. Well, let me tell you, it gets worse. And this is not even the hadith. This is the Quran. Oh, God. All colors. I don't know. I understand the super chat things. Peter Scully or Alam. I don't. Okay, but thank you for the super chat. I don't understand it, but thank you. Nilufar saying justifying child RAPing with mental gymnastics. Yeah, that's what she's doing. All right. So this was. I hope this was educational for you guys. And if you are confused, let me know in the comment section, because I think most of you seem to have understood what I just said, right? But if you're confused, let me know in the comment section so I could like maybe explain it in a short, concise video with some charts so that people could follow. But if you didn't understand what I said, maybe rewind a little bit back. Maybe let me just try to summarize, put it all together so that people understand, right? So Islam tells you that if you divorce a woman before she can marry again, she has to wait 3 months before she could marry. That part is easy, okay? Unless, then the Quran somewhere else says, unless she didn't have sex in her marriage. If she didn't have sex in her marriage, she doesn't have to wait 3 months before she gets remarried. Simple enough, right? Then the Quran says, when you divorce a woman, when you divorce those wives of you that hasn't had her period yet, okay, you should also wait 3 months. So that verse is telling you that when you divorce the wives that haven't had their period yet, you should wait 3 months. This does two things. First of all, when it says divorce wives that haven't had their period yet, it confirms child marriage in Islam. It tells you that if you're divorcing somebody that hasn't had the period yet, you have to divorce her, you first had to have married her. That means that marrying women who haven't had their period yet is allowed in Islam. But also the second part, it says, when it says it confirms that you have to wait 3 months, because the Quran had said that you don't have to wait 3 months if you haven't touched her, that means you have touched them. That means you have had sex with them. So that means you married them and had sexual intercourse with them before they had their period. Simple enough? Easy peasy? Good. And Susie is here saying, make sure you like to stream. Yeah, guys, everybody, please like the stream. Your likes really. Again, a lot of people say Anna is very educated on Islam, and this is something that most people don't know about child marriage in the Quran. And this is, I think, if you think this is more people need to know this, please like the stream, because this is very important for people to understand this. There is no way to get it. I have debated people about this very topic for the past 10 years. I guarantee you, there is no way around this. There is no way around this. So you need to understand this, because this is a nail in the coffin. This should be a nail in the coffin for us. Nobody should be able to defend a religion like this. So please like the stream so more people see it. And recommend this video, to send this video to people who are becoming Muslim or who don't understand how vile and disgusting Islam is. And we got a super chat from MYTV saying, some Muslims say that the Nisa 65:4 means older woman and doesn't talk about children. Yes, I know. I have debated all of them. They're all wrong. I have gone through every single, I have compared different verses with each other. I could debate this forever. I have debated this with scholars, with Islamic scholars. They know there's no way around this. I have on our Persian channel as well. Like, I have discussed this with mullahs, and I've seen every single way that they have tried to get out of this. By the way, every single tafsir, every single well-recognized tafsir understands this verse to mean exactly what I just told you. Don't let these modernists and reformists come up with excuses. These are the same people that say that the verse that says the Quran tells you to beat your wife, it's actually telling you to travel away from her or something like that. Like, they are making a fool out of themselves. There's no way that you could get out of this verse. And Ben also gave us another super chat saying, Armin, how many other children had been violated? Discussing, yes, many, even today, because of these verses, because of these teachings in Islam. Even today, children are being violated as we speak. But go on, Anna.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, many Muslims, they seem to be aware of such verses, yet they try to believe in a better version of Islam than what Islam is actually in reality. So I think it is also beneficial to Muslims that we show them the real Islam, the real Quran, the Hadith. Like, for example, I had discussions with Muslims saying, like, the Quran is very pro women, and then I say, okay, so how do you so how can you explain that the Quran says that women get twice less inheritance from their parents? And they say, no, it's not in the Quran. And then I show them, and then they say, oh, it's because this and this and this. So a lot of times they convince themselves, kinda, in a much better version. And we should reiterate the verses that are exactly like this, about child marriage, about severe punishments, about jihad, everything. Yeah.
Exactly. So let's just end this with this. All colors, the super chat saying Google Peter Scully Armin. Okay, I will do that. Thank you. And guys, again, please make sure you like and subscribe, hit the bell notification, and also recommend our channel and this video to as many people as you possibly can. Send this to your friends and to your enemies, especially to your enemies. Okay, guys, see you. I think we're doing another stream tomorrow, same time. So usually we try to do the same time almost every day, but not every day, but almost every day. So see you again probably tomorrow. Bye.